There you go.
Oh, right. Okay, that's great. Okay, got it. Okay, cool.
Hello there and welcome. I am Danny, spiritualtherapist.com, and my guest today is an unbelievable woman scientist, speaker, leader, heralder of truth on and off planet. Before I introduce her formally, I want to let you know a little bit about this girl, this woman, my friend. We've actually known each other for over 17 years, and we came together through a mutual friend, and we've always supported each other, lifted each other up, as all women do, and men on the planet, in the different types of work that we've been doing. And this woman, Dr. Manjir Samanta-Laughton, has brought to our planet the most unbelievable, incredible, provable information on what a black hole actually is. To start with, in her background, she was a doctor, a general practitioner in England, UK, and she'd been having some spiritual awakenings from her time at medical school. She went through a marriage. As the marriage came undone, her husband sought revenge and was saying that she was mentally unsound. Did some very unkind things, went into her computer, removed information she was looking up on angels and reptilians, etc. This is in the 90s, just so everybody knows, because a lot of people are just coming out, oh, I woke up 18 months ago. I realized all this a year ago. Well, you've been in the trenches a long time, lady. Coming to the word I love, maverick scientist, Dr. Manjir Samanta-Laughton is definitely a maverick scientist, moving through her years of school, getting herself a decision that most people would never ever have the courage to make. And what this woman did, as a qualified medical doctor, she took herself off the medical register because she was harassed and bullied by the medical industry because of slurs from her husband against her. And this woman said, I will not be tagged. And she removed herself, indeed. Continued her work, moved into the black hole principle, which we are going to discuss in detail. Dr. Manjir Samanta-Laughton, welcome, darling, welcome.
Hi, Danny. Gosh, that was an amazing intro. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. We were just saying that, on some, broadcast, people take so long to do the intro. It's like, get on with it. It's like, drop in. We need like lay it out, like layer it in, but then bring on, so we can jump and skip and get to who and what you are. So you are welcome. And I love you and I adore you. Such a strong woman, Nobel Prize potentially in the very near future. Please, when and what did you discover about black holes, and why did you discover and create the name, the black hole principle?
Gosh. Well, this is, an amazing story. Like you're saying, I went through quite a few things in my personal life, but that gave me the time and space to be able to take some time out from my medical career. After, I had a terrible divorce, and my ex-husband took my spirituality, and even though I'd had an exemplary record, like no patient complaint, no colleague complaint or anything, he took my private life, which had the whole spiritual element, and used that against me. And that's why, after some time of the medical board in the UK investigating my mental health, actually, to try and understand, what's all this talking to angels business and all that, as in channeling, and they just couldn't find anything wrong with me. So they said, well, we're going to monitor you. So I quit the medical profession. And that gave me, obviously, that was a very difficult, traumatic time for me, but it gave me this space to contemplate and step back a little bit. And whilst I was doing that, I was continuing this interest of mine of how to link the cutting edge of physics with this spiritual knowledge that I was living. So I was living a multidimensional life, and I could see that some theories in physics, like quantum theory, string theory, faster than speed of light VSL, variable light speed of light theory, that was just coming out in the 90s, and also cosmology theories. had real analogies with the sort of spiritual life that I was living. Because I mean, what person who meditates, if you meditate for long enough, you start to see this interesting light, don't you? And it's kind of like, oh, okay, brighter than the normal light. So, you know, that sort of thing with VSL and that sort of. So I was starting to make those analogies. So that gave me more time to really contemplate all of this. And I really got interested in black holes. I thought there's something here. And the traditional picture of black holes, as you will know, is that they're great gobbling monsters. And to this day, if you switch on a documentary about black holes, that's what they'll say to you, that, oh my God, if you fall in the black hole, nothing can escape, and da da da. But that's far from the actual evidence. So when we've been going out into space, we see something completely different. And we see lots of stuff coming out of black holes. And they try and sort of say, well, the black holes are burping on their food. And, you know, just before it goes in, this is the crying gasp of a star and all this sort of stuff. And it kind of didn't really make any sense. But when I was out in the woods walking my dog one day, I just had a sudden insight, and it was like a complete download of tons of information just in a second. And I realized that black holes are not these devouring monsters, they're actually creative. And they're the creative sources of the universe. And so, I mean, that's why if you look at a galaxy, there's a direct correlation between the size of the black hole at the center and the size of the galaxy, because guess what? The black hole created the galaxy, and that's where there's this one-to-one relationship. So basically, I realized that what was going on is that what we see as the physical universe isn't the limit of the universe at all. So that's all the stuff below the speed of light. But there's so much more to the universe, and that's beyond the speed of light. So what goes beyond the speed of light? Well, not physical stuff, but light itself. And there's lots of different realms of light, and that's what scientists call dark matter and dark energy. It's all this mysterious stuff that makes up 98.99% of the universe is unknown. That's the stuff that's beyond what I'm now calling the perception horizon. So what happens at a black hole is all the light comes from the infinity, from these higher dimensions. It spirals down to our dimension, and at the edge of the perception horizon, at the edge of that interface, the light turns, splits, and becomes a positron and electron. And it happens at that barrier, at that speed of light barrier. And what we see with our telescopes is electrons traveling out of a black hole at just below the speed of light. And the reason why they're doing that is they have only just slowed down to our dimension. And so we also see antimatter as well, which is this exotic kind of like mirror particle of the matter that we see around us. We have this antimatter as well, and then the two can combine again, and it's like a breathing process, and they combine again, and they can form things like, when they combine, they sort of go back into light, and they form gamma ray bursts. And so that simple pattern of this breathing process at the edge of our reality, I realized it doesn't just happen at the center of galaxies, it happens all the way down. Even in the thunderstorms above our heads, they're kind of mini black holes, which is why you have gamma ray bursts coming out of thunderstorms, antimatter, and even fast moving electrons. Now, normally we call that, in thunderstorms, we call that lightning.
Don't do that, Manjir. The answer. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
We call that lightning. So it's basically the same pattern going all the way down. So I've spent the last almost 20 years now gathering all the evidence for this big picture, and there's just so many exciting things that are happening. It's just it really is a new paradigm that we're moving into in science.
It really is, and it's incredible, and I love how you explain it. And as you were saying earlier, we've been taught and trained, because what are the two main governing bodies on our planet, right? You and I are over 40 at this point. The two governing bodies on this planet are religion and science. We have been told everything. History is only what we have been told, other than our personal experiences, but we are governed by these two giant hands, largely run by old white men. Boy, am I tired of that old paradigm. Old reptilian men, like, leave, please. let the humans come on through, which is actually happening, as we know. So we're told that a black hole is a dying star. Everything is inverting and sucking in and dying and dying and dying. You are purporting, and have done for 15 years plus at this point, that a black hole is a point of creation, a beautiful dance between electrons, photons, protons, gamma rays, etc. Can you go back a little bit and describe from out of the black hole the event horizon a little bit more, please?
And I love what you just did there with your hands, Danny, because that's exactly what we see. We see these spirals of antimatter and matter, double spirals like the double helix of DNA to a certain degree. So the event horizon, which in the traditional picture is where, like in sci-fi movies, you know, you're space explorers can't go beyond the event horizon because they're going to get sucked in and everything like that. And there's all this, it's almost like a type of, can I say this type of porn? You know, people love to think about, oh, what will happen when you come into the black hole, and you know, and it's just there's no evidence for it. The actual evidence that you see, even in that black hole that was imaged, was it early 2019 now? I think it's 2000. If you look at the announcement there as they're getting closer to the only black hole that's been imaged, you see that they go past these streaks of jets. So even as the only one that we've imaged in a close-up, you can see that it's actually producing jets. So you see that you're producing these bipolar jets. So what that means is not that the black hole is manic depressive, but they're going at right angles to the actual, what's seen as the accretion disk. It's not the accretion disk, it's the creation disk, it's the spinning that's happening. So you see these jets that are coming off the center of galaxies, and it doesn't sort of make any sense for a lot of people. So whereas the event horizon was the place of no return, I'm renaming it the perception horizon, because that's a limitation of the limitation of our consciousness. It's a representation of the limitation of consciousness of the three-dimensional world, but it's not the limitation of consciousness itself. And that's where the mystics come in. They've always seen beyond the speed of light, and but that's the sort of limitation of where we can, with our physical bodies, go. So hence we don't quite easily time travel, because I think it can be theoretical possible, but not with our three-dimensional bodies. So if we, you know, transmute into light, then that's where time travel and things like that are possible. And that's where we get the idea that we're in the eternal now, because, and that's a concept in physics as well, you know, because we're going beyond that perception horizon, we're going beyond that 3D limitation. But when we are aware of this world below that event horizon, perception horizon, then things go along to our three-dimensional rules, as in a baby grows up to an adult, not the other way around, that sort of thing. That's in the sort of matter forward time region. But ultimately, because the two annihilate with that antimatter region, everything sort of cancels out in the big picture, and that's where you get the eternal now. So that's really the event horizon, which I've renamed the perception horizon, is the sort of boundary of where the world that we're familiar with, the 3D world, and the world beyond, that's the sort of interface between the two.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, just amazing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your dark night of the soul and explain to people what that is. Dark night of the soul is transformation. It's never just one bloody night. Certainly not for me. It's been a lot of years, and it's been a lot of years for you too, my love, hasn't it?
Yeah.
During that time, you have had to come against time and time again, and I call it academic snobbery, right? The men, mostly the men. And yeah, men, you know what? You're going to get it. You're going to get it right now. You're lucky I've got my ugly pen and didn't have my pretty pen today. Anyway, men in white suits, men who sit there pontificating, postulating, spreading hyperbole, all that bollocks against women, against other younger scientists, against other minds that come in with an idea, a theory, a provability, a possibility, with all the edgings and flowers around it, that they cannot allow to come through. Now, again, science right now is under the microscope on every level, particularly the world of health science, right? Let's just call it that. So there is so much going on in the world. People are finally allowing themselves to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't believe everything I'm told about science. Maybe I should just open my mind or speak and use my voice and speak out and have other thoughts in my mind that I've been told I shouldn't have. So everything is opening up. Now, I want to say that one day I was doing a reading, sitting with other people, and there were 3 people. I was in the center, and there was a person in front of us, and she was going through a lot in her life, real trauma. So we're sitting there and we're giving her love, and we're all reading, and I'm in the middle, and I swear to you, I saw right into her. I saw her chakra system, which to me is the energy anchors in the body that basically help anchor in the actual soul. That's my own hypothesis theory. And then I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, they're all black holes. All of these chakras, energy systems, are black holes. What say you about that?
Oh, that's an amazing, amazing vision. Just want to say that's why the thing is called punk science, because of the, you know, of we have the old guard, like you're saying, but absolutely, the black hole principle doesn't just stop at the level of the galaxy. It goes all the way down, and you can see bipolar jets around quarks. If you look at an atom again, and the way that you have these positron antimatter matter holes that are left as the people who know a little bit of science will recognize what I'm talking about. Radioactivity, it's the same sort of process. You've got gamma rays, you've got electrons being given off. So the chakra is another level of creation, and the bipolar jet. Did you see the 2 levels of jets around the chakra? So I mean, I said this with Richard Dawkins, and he just thought it was hilarious. I don't know why he brought it up, but well, he did, because he wanted to humiliate me.
Humiliate you, yes.
He wanted to humiliate me, but I mean, as a result, it got the theory around the world. And so basically, it's the truth. It's at every single level. And so when we look at the implications of this, are massive. So you know, when we look at things like earthquakes, volcanoes, so one of the big linkage points is the thunderstorms. So the thunderstorms, we have, you know, the same pattern. We've got gamma rays, and this breathing pattern makes it intermittent. It's not just like giving off electrons all the time, the black hole principle. It's a breathing process. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. And there's lots of different radiation that comes out of it. But when you look at the pattern of a thunderstorm, you see you don't have thunderstorms all the time. They are intermittent. So you've got that. You've got the gamma rays coming off it, which was a big surprise to scientists when they discovered them in the 90s. You've got the electrons, which we've already talked about, being lightning. You've got the antimatter, which they discovered in the 2010s, which I predicted in 2006. The other thing you get in thunderstorms, not all the time, but some of the time, is rain. So I started to realize that, my goodness, black holes, the black hole principle must produce water. And I thought that, oh God, no one's going to believe me. But I mean, if the black hole principle is correct, then black holes must produce water. And of course, now from 2006, when I published, to now, we know that there are massive bodies of water in space, and that water comes gushing out of black holes. We know that all these planets, from Mars to, you know, all these moons, like Enceladus, these tiny moons, they have gushing water. You know, I said that the water coming from comets is not, is actually from the comet itself. And we know that now. And there's a blind spot in mainstream science. They just can't see it. And I'm thinking, why is all this happening? So I said that, basically a thunderstorm is a mini black hole. and it should have bipolar jets associated with it. 2019, that's exactly what they found. Japanese scientists realized they've got a downward streak of the gamma ray burst as well as of an upward, a bipolar jet. So exactly as predicted. So I predicted antimatter in thunderstorms. In 2018, they found gamma ray bursts in hurricanes. And just recently, because this is also the source of volcanic activity, so just recently, they found a comet that is violently giving off volcanic activity, a comet. And of course, for black hole principle, this is a no-brainer. Of course, comets are capable of this. And the other crazy thing that just sounds absolutely insane, but it isn't when you think about it, is the black hole principle is also the source of what we call fossil fuels. And there's tons of evidence that fossil fuels are actually coming upwards rather than downwards. We're taught they're like, these trees that died millions of years ago and that formed coal after many, many millions of years. And the oil is sea creatures and, all of that. And I was thinking, this doesn't make any sense. And I was thinking, what if, because I was looking at the Gulf of Mexico and going, oh, there's a huge crater there, which we're told is an asteroid crater that's from when the dinosaurs were wiped out. But there's no sign of any asteroid there, but there's loads of oil. I was going, what if that crater is actually an upwelling dynamic, which actually brings through loads of oil from the black hole principle at the center of our own planet. So we also know where the Earth's oceans comes from as well, by the way, because the Earth itself is producing water, but I'll come on to that in a second. So basically, I thought the only way this is going to make any sense is if we found oil in space. And it sounds like, what? Oil and coal in space? They're fossils. Why would there be, there's no trees on Mars? Well, there's loads of oil and coal in space. There are diamonds, there's coal, there's even a whole star whose heart is a diamond. And so Marilyn Monroe would have been very happy with that. But there are even rains diamonds on certain planets. So we're seeing the same sort of principle. We're seeing coal come out of, a Hong Kong professor has found coal come out of stars. We've seen oil on Titan. There's so much oil on Titan. There's a massive oil well just in space. And we can see that it actually comes from the galactic center. The galactic centers are greasy. So we're talking about climate change a lot on this planet. How can you understand climate change if you don't understand these things? So how can you talk about fossil fuels when there's oil all over Titan? They're not fossils. So the central black hole of each body, whether that be a moon, a star, a planet Earth, is a black hole principle dynamo. And it's producing not only the water, the Earth's oceans. I announced in 2013 that I believe that due to the black hole principle, that the Earth is producing its own oceans from its center, and also all the black holes that are all around. So why do we get beautiful, clear spring water from a volcano? Do you ever drink Evian water? It actually says it's from the mountains. But how the heck is this happening? Why is it from a mountain? It should be if it's filtering down, it should be at the bottom of the mountain, not the top of the mountain. So this is because volcanic activity is black hole principle activity, producing pure water. And we drink it all the time, not understanding what it is. Very happy to say that I'm now in touch with some scientists around the world who are working with what's called primary water. They've been actually finding these wells. They've been in Africa, they've been helping people who haven't got clean water. They've been finding it through these principles, knowing that the Earth actually produces its own water. We've been putting it to the black hole principle to work without people calling it that. But I mean, that's a reason why. There've been science going 100 years who've known that the Earth produces its own water. And nobody on this planet needs to be without water. If only the mainstream scientists took it on board,
Yeah, well, there's too much in it. One of the things I was going to say earlier is I've witnessed with my own eyes over the years in the life I've led thus far, two particular massive scientific breakthroughs that would have helped humanity on levels you can't even imagine. Blocked. Funding was blocked. Block, block, block. One thing I will tell very quickly, because men will love this. When I had my clinic at Harley Street, remember when I had my clinic at Harley Street, when I had my television show on actual television, I remember that this doctor, we'll call him Dr. Richard. Dr. Richard came to my clinic and he was extremely upset and suffering from real PTSD and anxiety. He had discovered a way to harvest the cells from men's urine in order to check their PSA for prostate cancer. Up until that point, and I don't know about today, I know my ex-husband had to go through this horrific, barbaric, for testing of the prostate, which is reached up through the anus, they would put a sharp instrument up, like a stapler, to take a biopsy down a man's anus passage and see if he had, prostate cancer or not. This would have been over and done with in 2009, easily. But the funding was blocked. The funding was blocked because somebody else wanted to put their bloody whatever hypothesis, hyperbole into the space and take the name. And this vicious, violent, cruel handling of humanity, it is gone past the tipping point. We have already tipped over to the other side, thank goodness. Now, going back a little bit, because there are a lot of brilliant people that know a lot of what you are talking about, and there are a lot of brilliant people that haven't yet heard of these concepts because you haven't reached the whole global audience that you are now reaching. Now, when we as humans are told about water, we're like, oh, I wonder if there's water on any of those planets up there, because if there is water up there on Mars, that means there's potentially life. I mean, it might be a one-celled amoeba, or some algae, right? This is how stupid they think we are. Shame on you all, shame on you all. Anyway, so we know that water exists on other planets. We know there's life on many other planets. There are humanoids. There are beautiful brothers and sisters on other planets. We know that. So that's the reason why they have been trying to say, no water, no, don't look there, look over here. Here, a bomb went off in Afghanistan, not funny at all, but just pointing out how the distractions happen when information is coming out. Now, would you please very briefly describe for those that do not know what is an electron, what is a gamma ray, and what is a photon?
Gosh, that is a good question, because ultimately we don't really know. But an electron, you could say, is a subatomic particle. And if you think of probably the classical image of an atom that you see in school, and so it has a nucleus at the center, and in the nucleus there are some charged particles and there are some neutral particles. This is the image that we have of our school. And whizzing around them are smaller particles called electrons, which are negatively charged. So that doesn't mean there's anything bad about them. So those are the things that I'm talking about. Now, nobody really knows why they keep their charge throughout the whole expanse of existence. What's charging them, what's actually causing this to happen. So in a deep level, we don't really know what electrons are. We use them every day. Electricity, all of these things, we manage to get them to do what we want them to do, and bring them along wires and things like that to fuel our world. So the other thing that they do is, supposedly, on the this model of the atom, is they jump from level to level. These are called quantum leaps. And so as they jump, Paul Dirac, a scientist, physicist in the UK in the 1930s in Cambridge, he realized that they left behind these antimatter holes, as you could call it. And later on, they discovered antimatter in cosmic rays, and he won the Nobel Prize for it. For a very, very quiet physicist, he didn't become the superstar like Einstein did around the same time. And so this is where the concept of matter and antimatter comes from. So what I'm saying is that that's the same process as this matter antimatter breathing process. As the electron jumps up the quantum leaps, a photon is basically what we call a particle of light. So light can be seen as a wave or a particle. So and that's kind of like a wave of yeah, it can be seen as a sort of wave of possibility as well. So that's a wave of probability. So, and so basically you can see it as either way. But if we stick to the sort of the particle, that's what we call the photon. A gamma ray is basically a really high energy, the highest energy that we can sort of perceive and measure of the electromagnetic spectrum. So what we have lots of things on the electromagnetic spectrum, like radio waves, microwaves, all of those things, and gamma rays are sort of high energy version of that. So what we see at the end, at the edge of a black hole, are the signatures of basically an electron particle and a positron particle, and in different bodies it's different things. Like, for example, in the sun, it's there's a particle called neutrinos and antineutrinos. So it just depends. It's like it's the same pattern expressed in different ways all the way down. So, but the simple pattern that was given to me that day of walking in the woods with my dog Charlie was that, you remember Charlie, don't you? Was that you know, you've got the electron and the positron, which are mirror images of each other, and when they come together they disappear in a flash of light, and that flash of light is the gamma ray burst. And that gamma ray burst is what we see all over the cosmos. And the mainstream scientists, I tell you something, they're desperate. They're trying to figure out why it is that their actual observations of the universe don't fit their ideas. You know, so nobody was expecting gamma ray bursts in thunderstorms. They just didn't think that that was going to happen. And Neil Turok, who was previously at Cambridge, is now in Canada, the Perimeter Institute in Canada, he actually is saying quite openly, we're desperate, we've got no big ideas anymore. And we want something big and sweeping. And so basically the ideas in Black Hole Principle can solve a lot of the problems that are going on in physicists, if they just open their minds and realize that people from outside their profession can have something to say about the problems that they're facing. You know, why is it that asteroids are giving off ejections? Why is it that you've got cryovolcanism on Pluto? You know, all of these things were just not expected by astrophysicists and that profession. And so if you just think laterally and start to realize that there's the same pattern going throughout all of reality, it just becomes really, really simple. So the simplicity is what, and what's so amazing is that people who write to me and they go, have you thought about this example of Black Hole Principle? And I totally agree with them. And the power is its simplicity. So when something is simple, some people can grasp it and then teach me. And that's the beauty of it. I love it when that happens, because it means that you come across a universal truth. And when it's simple enough, it's the truth. When things are that's what we look for in science, something that's simple, elegant, and just doesn't need any special circumstance. It goes throughout reality. And it's exciting too, because there's so many things to explore. But the possibility for humanity are huge. Understanding climate change, I think in terms of 1,000-year cycles now. And I think if in 900 years time, if we have used Black Hole Principle to being able to predict a volcano enough to save lives, then it'll have done its job, and so I think in those terms. So because this is a chance for us now to really go forward and understand the universe in a different way. And the scientists that are finding the water, for example, and the earth generated water, Guess how it is that they discover the sites where deep water wells are sited?
Well, they looked up your work first of all and got all the
No, they existed before I was even born, but they measured the gamma rays.
Mm-hmm.
And so even before I came along in existence, they had already discovered that you can discover water according to measuring the gamma rays. And there are companies on Earth right now who are doing this work. So they're a really good example of black hole principle in action. Whether they call it that or not, they've hit upon it. And helping people on the planet right now find clean water and distribute the abundant resources wonderful planet has given us. Think about it. We've been given the gift from the center of the earth to fuel the Industrial Revolution. Even though we don't want to use those anymore for various reasons, it's given us an acceleration of growth. And we've also helped with its own drawbacks, but it has given us that. So instead of going into this climate change fear, we can now see wow, we have been given this abundance by the planet that we live on. How amazing. We're given abundance of water. We've been given an abundance of fuel for now. And we're going to move on to a different fuel, but doesn't it give you a different feeling? Mm-hmm. And so again.
Yes, one of my thoughts that I've always had about our beautiful planet is that she's so much cleverer. She's a massive, gigantic, sentient being. We live on her. I remember years ago when I was living in Sunbury-on-Thames, and one day the snow came, and the snow immobilized the whole of Great Britain. The whole of Great Britain. Mother Earth dumped, and within 2 hours, the whole country was done. And I mean England, Scotland, Wales, right? My theory just confirmed to me then that man thinks he's got so much power, but really she's in control. She's in control. And again, you cannot believe the scientists. You cannot, I remember when Donald Trump went to the Paris summit. And I don't want to get too far off track here, but just again, as we're opening our minds to other ideas, to other maverick scientists, other maverick people, he went and he pulled out. And I remember thinking, oh my God, you arrogant wanker, what are you doing? How dare you not be in alignment with everyone focusing on the good of the planet, the good of the resources, the good of the earth? I had no idea that he was making one of the bravest statements of stop and think. We are all going down a path where we think we're helping our planet and we're actually potentially not. And so when he did that, we were like, oh no, you must be gone, little man. What are you doing? And then we're like, oh, look what he did. When the screens dropped and the distractions, finished, it was just absolutely amazing and incredible. So it all ties in. Everything and everyone ties in. Like I said to you at the beginning of our broadcast, with it, with the one thing I brag about and will brag is I know the most incredible people. I cannot believe the blessings, the friendships I have. And of all the friendships, the long term and the short term, etc., everyone is coming into this unified loop of consciousness. Everyone's stories fitting in somewhere, somehow, around what this planet is, what we are, who we are, what we truly are, our divine connection to source, what that actually is. And it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful and amazing. Now, I love the word you used earlier, to mansplaining. You got all these men trying to tell you what this is and what that is, and we've had a good laugh about that, mansplaining. If you were to really just kind of give a synopsis to a 10-year-old future female scientist on our planet, how would you explain what you explained in terms of what black hole principle is?
I think not just to females, but to everybody. So
I know. I'm just picking the girls up today. Do you know what? Because you've been so crushed and held down. I just want to raise up that feminine energy. And it isn't about bashing the men. I'm just playing. People should know that. But, yeah.
And I think in terms of I really believe in helping everyone. So this black hole principle gives us a route into, understanding climate change. I mean, how can you understand climate change when you know, you don't understand why a hurricane does what it does. And who's the person who predicted that gamma ray bursts and antimatter would be in hurricanes? You know, so it's like we have greater understanding. But anyway, so in terms of black hole principle, so black holes are the creative forces of the universe. It's a very bad name. And the same pattern that happens in galactic black holes happens all the way down throughout reality. And it's the same simple pattern. And it's, you know, if we're going to go further, it's that breathing pattern of light splitting into matter and antimatter and going back again. And there are many other iterations, but that's the basic pattern. And once you know that, you can start to predict so many things about reality.
Definitely. Do you think when the matter and antimatter comes together, there's a physical component to it? You know, because off planet, when things come back onto our planet, they slow down and they solidify. When they're off planet, you know, sort of shape shifting is like when things are off planet, we can't see them in the same way. We might see them as an energy, a gaseous, you know, orb, something like that. But as they come down into our timeline, then everything solidifies and slows down, and we're more able to visually see like what's in front of us.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. The electrons that are coming out of black holes are actually slowing down from higher dimensions to ours, and that's what goes into what we call matter around us. That's what creates us all. So we don't come from stardust as such, we come from black holes. And so what we do indeed see and can measure when the matter and antimatter come together into that gamma ray burst, we can actually measure that. So that is still seen in the physical world. And there are other elements to it, like, for example, fast radio bursts. Big mystery in physics at the moment, but it's quite simple. You know, the radio waves and why they're so powerful, because you've got at the center of every black hole is the same infinity. It's the same in, you know, whether you be in an atom in your chakra in the black hole, it's the same infinity. It's all connected. And so that you know, that infinite power can just put out a fast radio burst. And so that's how it happens. And so it solves a lot of the issues that we got in physics at the moment. So hopefully that's succinct enough for the future.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing is when women write to me and say, because of you, I'm studying physics.
Amazing.
And that is just to inspire. And I haven't even got an A level in physics. So, you know, to have inspired that.
I don't need one, right?
No.
Again, that's beyond the tipping point. Things are changing, things are shifting. Exactly. Now, and the sign behind you says punk science, because girl, you are a rebelling punk rocker scientist, a maverick scientist. Can you please tell us a little bit about your first book, Punk Science?
So Punk Science came out in 2006. It's published by Obit, and it's available Amazon, everywhere. And it really charts a journey from looking at the cutting edge of physics and science and biology in general, to the science of consciousness, the conclusions of quantum physics, string theory. So if you are someone who's spiritually aware, and if you enjoyed what we talked about already, but you're someone who's spiritually aware, who wants to have that sort of scientific validation for what you know to be true, that's the book for you. And if you want to go a bit further, I've done an online course called Simply Divine, exactly tailored for where you're at. So if you go to drmanjir.com/SD, so Dr. Manjir is all one word, and drmanjir.com/SD, that will take you to Simply Divine as well. So that's an online course where we really, really break it down. You can join the Conscious Science Club as well if you sign up for that. And we hang out every month, and talk about all this cool stuff. And there's a forum and everything like that. So yeah, look forward to seeing some of you in the Conscious Science Club and on the course Simply Divine. So yeah, there's so Punk Science, I would say, is the book that really lays out, it's got references and everything like that. And Simply Divine is, you know, for if you're more visual, if you want it in video form, if you want to have it really broken down, there's lots of cartoons and that sort of thing. So and you know, I really let my hair down talking about quantum physics and tarot and things like that. So yeah, that's the online course. So
yeah, I love how you cross everything. I'm going to put all your details at the bottom of this broadcast when it goes out on YouTube, so don't worry. People will definitely be able to find you. Now, Punk Science, the book, and we also have Punk Science, the movie. How are things going? And I think I might be in that movie too.
Oh my God, Danny has been such a supporter of this work. I'm just so grateful. So she was such a good support to be the first person to be interviewed for the Punk Science movie. So we've been making this, myself and my partner have been working on this documentary for a while. And it kind of came to, we did loads and loads of stuff sort of around 2010 to 14. And then it kind of came to it slow because I was going, okay, for the next step, I need to have like, you know, this big budget and stuff like that. I was looking at animation, so it kind of slowed down. But in the meantime, I've been making all of these connections in the theory, and now I'm going, well, that's why. And I'm connecting with these scientists around the world now. We've got all this like amazing energy coming together, and you know, we're not just got the movie. So if you go to punksciencemovie.com and sign up for that, you'll be on the waiting list for when that comes out. So there's going to be a new Punk Science Club, which is going to be a membership site that you can join, hang out, everything like that. We'll be going live, and we'll be releasing masterclasses, which Danny is part of. So those are all sort of put together, and that's got Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Lynette Taggart. You might recognize a few of these names. And and so these wonderful people, including Danielle, and so really breaking down what this whole science and spirituality is all about, from non-locality to the new biology and all this fantastic stuff. You know, people like Bruce Lipton just welcomed us into his home, and he's been so supportive of my work over the years. Joe Dispenza was just such a good sport as well. And so we've got all these wonderful people who have just really supported this. And and then we can put this new stuff about fossil fuels, about climate change and everything like that, about earth generated water into the documentary itself. And so just really looking forward to bringing all this. I'm itching to bring this out. And so thank you so much for your support for this as well, Danny.
Of course, you know, it is globally and universally important. The work, the revelations, the understanding, the explanations have been absolutely beyond. You know, you were definitely gifted a huge mission. And from what I can tell, you have fully carried that mission out. You really have. And, you know, the admiration that I have is just uncalculable. And the other people that will also come to understand who and what you are and what you've done for our planet is also just incalculable. So, my darling, I'm going to put all your details. I really welcome people to look at Dr. Manjir's work. And it's Dr. Manjir Samanta-Laughton. But again, it'll all be in the description, so people don't have to worry about quickly writing it down. It's all good. You do have a second book, The Genius Groove. Do you want to touch on that briefly?
Yeah, it really is, again, for people who want more of the personal development side. What does the black hole principle mean for you? How does it help you in your creativity and your to get into your genius? So this is all, if you go to punkscience.com, you can look at the various books and the various projects that I've got going on.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, sending my love to you and holding you in the peace and grace of everything that you've done, and that people will discover the work and it'll help them put a lot of that unification of consciousness together within themselves and amongst each other. All right. Thank you so much,
Mm.
Dr. Manjir. So much.
Thank
And to you
Susan.
lovely people out there, I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast today. It's coming from love, a place of brilliance, a place of genius, a place of real revelation on our planet right now. Take care, be nice to each other, lift each other up, and I see you soon.
Bye.